GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome back to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much, Jim.
You've been bugging Hydro for quite some time to find out, before they started installing smart meters, whether they did any research to see if these things are safe or not.
That's right. I've been, and I think I've told your listeners a few times, that I have made efforts over the last 5 to 6 years to find out if any professional electrical engineer has certified these meters to be safe, because many electrical engineers have said that they have design flaws that make them fire hazards. And BC Hydro's only comment has been they don't have to. They don't have to certify these are safe because it's a hydro equipment, and there are all sorts of loopholes that allow them to get by the certification process that's required for any other electrical device that we have in our home. Your toaster, your light bulb, everything has to be certified, but for some reason the smart meters aren't. So finally in October I decided to try another slant. And what I did is I asked BC Hydro what procedures they took prior to signing the contract with Itron to determine that these meters were safe and would do what they were supposed to do. Since October, I've been asking this. The first response was in November and said that they would respond by January 7th. And then in January I got a response and said that they'll get back to me by February 20th, and that's the last correspondence. They will not answer the question. Now, I would think that any corporation, whether it's public or private, has a process it should go through before signing a major contract to make sure that the product or service it's buying is what it's purported to do and that the prices are reasonable, etc. Obviously, BC Hydro didn't do this. I am trying now to find a law that stipulates what has to be done by BC Hydro when it signs a contract. I'm asking BC Utilities Commission if they have any information regulating this sort of thing. I would think they would, but I just, in fairness to BC Utilities Commission, even though I've copied them in all my correspondence back and forth with BC Hydro for the last 6 months, I just asked them this particular question a few days ago and they haven't got back yet. But I think that the silence by BC Hydro speaks a volume. I mean, the fact that they cannot answer my question, which I think is very simple. What procedures did you follow? How did you know that you were getting the best deal for your money? How did you know that these were safe? And they have taken almost 6 months and still haven't answered.
The fire hazard about smart meters acknowledged in jurisdictions around the planet. Why not BC?
I don't know, Jim. And the thing is, what's really significant as it pertains to the question that I asked, in many places they had Itron meters and other smart meters long before BC Hydro signed the contract. And most of the issues already were known. Fires had occurred. People were getting sick from the radiation. Privacy concerns had been raised. Cybersecurity issues had been raised. The costs for increased usage had been raised. None of these things were secrets. And if BC Hydro had done its due diligence, all of these issues should have been investigated and should have been answered. And I believe if they had done their job, we would still have our analogs. We wouldn't be fighting this fight to keep these fire hazards off our home. What instead I believe they did is they were sold a bill of goods by the people on ITROD and Corex's board, many of whom are buddies of the government and of the former premier and things like this. There are a lot of, friends that could have persuaded BC Hydro or this government to sign the contract. I don't know for sure. I'm just speculating. But it seems very odd to me that, first of all, we're paying the most per meter, $550 per meter, more than any other place in North America that I've been able to find it yet. And I'm keeping accurate records. Also, our legacy fees are the highest in North America and cannot be justified. In Michigan, they're fighting because people are being asked to pay $5 a month, and they don't believe it can be justified. Yet we're being charged $32.40 a month for those of us who still have our analogs. There are major things here that need to be investigated, should be investigated, and aren't being investigated by anybody. The politicians are walking away from this. Nobody is eager to get involved. And I have sent the information about the fires and about all of these other concerns time and time again. And yet nobody is doing anything.
Have you had any recent reports about explosions or fires involving smart meters?
Yeah, there have been a few. Some in Ontario. A couple of ones here that appear very suspicious, and I'm still in the process of trying to investigate. But I'll tell you, it's very, very difficult to get information here. And I'm in the process right now of finalizing a report to BCUC. If you remember last year, I wrote a report, and I provided evidence on 8 fires and incidents. And after many months, BCUC got back and said that they didn't think that the information I provided was significant. In fact, they would go with the information that Len Garris gave that said that there had been no fires, and they just ignored mine. They said it wasn't, quote, persuasive, which is a legal term meaning they want more evidence. So I've been spending the last about 6 months putting all of my evidence into a report, which I'm in the process right now of finalizing. But I can tell you that I am refuting just about every point that both Len Garris and the BCUC and the Office of the Fire Commissioner have made. The reports are not being filed by the fire departments. They are not being reviewed. They're not being tracked by anybody. They're not being looked into. The meters, when they fail, are not being inspected. They're being removed immediately from the scene and sent back to ITRON without anybody investigating to try to find what the cause of the fire or what the cause of the failure was. At one point last year in the report that I got back from BCUC in their response, they said because it is the law that the fire department is supposed to prepare a response within 3 days of a fire, that I was wrong when I said that this was not being done. Well, out of the more than 100 fires that I have reports on, only 13 were completed within 3 days. And even some of those were not submitted to the fire commissioner's office. They were held in the fire department's office, and the fire commissioner didn't get it. So this is the type of information that Len Garris used in his report that was bought and paid for by Hydro, in which he said that there were fewer fire reports. That means that the smart meters are safe. No, the fewer fire reports means that they're not getting the fire reports. They're just not being submitted. They don't know what's happening in this province, not only with smart meters or anything else. The situation at the fire commissioner's office, at the BC Safety Standards, all of these is quite appalling, and that's what I'm going to be saying in my report.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after the break.
Avan Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN AF. surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines. Avan's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avanresources.com.
I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, what have you learned about communities that are concerned about radiation produced by smart meters, cell phone towers, Wi-Fi in schools, and things like that?
Over the last few months, there have been some major developments, not in Canada, but just about everywhere else. The awareness is really becoming increased. People are starting to be very, very concerned about wireless devices. And places like, for instance, Maryland, there's a major health committee there that is pushing to take Wi-Fi out of schools. They have acknowledged, they've looked at the science, and they believe that children should not be exposed to wireless radiation, and have confirmed that the internet access and use of computers is not only cheaper and more efficient, but it's safer if it's done through hard wires, preferably fiber optic cable. And this is happening other places too. For instance, Paris, France, which had levels that were already a mere fraction of what's allowed in Canada, has just recently reduced their allowable levels even more by 30%. They're now down to about 1/100th of what is allowed in Canadian communities. And Paris is a big city. They've got cell transmitters, cell phones, they use Wi-Fi. It can be done at much lower levels. Even the level that Paris is mandating is not as low as the scientists would like, but it's a heck of a lot lower than what we're being exposed to, and it still works. And countries like Romania has now come out with their Radiation Protection Agency has begun an awareness campaign. It's called SOS, Electromagnetic Pollution. This is going to be warning people about the dangers of using wireless devices and encouraging them to use them wisely, or more safely at least. This is what we've been trying to get Health Canada to do since 2010, and they've refused. They won't put labels on wireless devices, and neither will they come out with a campaign of education for people. They won't even update their website. If you look at the Health Canada's website, it's woefully out of date and terribly inaccurate with what it gives, just as is the Cancer Society and Perry Kendall's, our provincial health officers. All of these websites are very negligent, and they give people misinformation. But Romania is starting a major campaign of education, as is Cyprus. Cyprus is also starting a campaign to remove Wi-Fi from schools. Canada is falling woefully behind. So many other countries and places like Maryland now are starting to educate people and are trying to take action to not only educate them, but also to protect the most vulnerable, our children in schools. And we're doing nothing. We can't even get Perry Kendall to put something on the website about this. If you look at the website for British Columbia's health officer, the information there is not only wrong, it's also misleading, making people believe that there's absolutely no reason to be concerned. I think we should be very concerned, and I think we should start considering a campaign against these people, against Health Canada and against our provincial health officers, to do something to alert and educate the public.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after this.
just remember, Jim, there's something I'd like to talk about a recent study that was done in Holland about smart meters running fast.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, the Netherlands has concerns about smart meters. What did they find out about them?
The people in Netherlands, as in other places, found that their bills were increasing dramatically after they got smart meters. And at one of the universities, they did a test, and they found that a high percentage of smart meters, 1 in 5, I believe, were running fast, as much as 600% faster than they should. They don't know why. They're investigating that. One hypothesis is that it's due to interference from other wireless devices in the area. For instance, cell transmitters, cordless phones that people have in their homes, or Wi-Fi, or even perhaps the microcells that are being put up along the streets. But this is causing meters to run fast. Now, of course, if you've got a meter that's running 5 times faster than it should, this probably would jump out at you. You'd be screaming bloody murder. The fact is that many of them are only running slightly fast. And this has been admitted to me by insiders at Hydro, that they know that the people there know that the smart meters are running slightly fast, but not all that fast. I was told maybe up to $1 or $2 a month per meter. And they're not really concerned, and they don't think people will be concerned about it. But if you think about it, $1 per month, and there are 1.8 million meters. That's a lot of money. That's over $20 million a year they're getting that they shouldn't be getting. That's our money that's being stolen by smart meters that are running fast. Now, we don't have anyone here who is testing our meters to ensure that they're as accurate as the old analog ones were. But given the experience of the test in Holland, it seems likely that there are people here who have smart meters that are running significantly faster than they should.
Now, of course, the federal government, if it's something like a gasoline pump or the weigh scale at your grocery store, they go out and send inspectors to make sure they're accurate. Do they do that for smart meters?
Not at your home. They test them in labs, pristine labs where there are no other wireless devices. This is how Hydro tested the smart meters. Initially, they sent it to one of their partners called PlanetWorks in Vancouver, who works for the cell phone industry. Their primary work is to find new sites for cell transmitters. And they were testing the smart meters for radiation level and to ensure that they were running appropriately. And one of the notations in the report I saw was that the lab was pristine and absent of any other wireless devices. Now, if the interference is causing the meters to run fast, they won't find it in that lab.
What about the move by some communities to make people install water meters in BC?
This is something that I just learned recently. Many communities have not had meters on homes, have not required people to have meters on homes. Instead, people were billed a flat amount per month or per quarter for their water usage. But now they're being told by the communities that they must have water meters. Water is not a provincial utility like electricity or gas, but rather it is controlled at the municipal or regional level. For instance, in Victoria, it's by the Capital Regional District. And now people are being required to put meters in so that they can be billed individually. And the hope is that this will make people more responsible with their use of water, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But they're bringing in wireless meters by Neptune in many instances, and people who do not want another meter radiating into their home have been refusing it. And in one community, people who have refused to have smart meters put on their home are being charged nearly $1,000 a quarter for their water usage. And one member of the coalition objected to this, and she went out and spent a lot of time. She talked with a lawyer. She did her investigation. She read the, I'm just looking at my notes here, the community charter. She looked at the Local Governments Act. And she spoke with the ombudsperson, who confirmed that local jurisdictions, the municipalities, have absolutely no jurisdiction over your private property. They cannot force you to have a water meter in your home or on your property at all. This person has found that you have every right to tell the municipality or the provider of water that you accept the meter. You're more than willing to have a meter and to pay whatever money that you owe them, but the meter has to be on public property. It has to be put on public property at their expense, not yours. And this makes sense when you think about it. The water companies don't have easements to get on your property. And if they put their meter on your property and something happens to that meter, you will be responsible for paying for it. And this is what happened in one community, where the local government brought in people from, I think she said Ontario, where this is supposed to be done. The installation of a smart meter on your water line, or any meter on your water line, is supposed to be done by a plumber. They hired people who did not have the experience and the knowledge to do this properly, and they caused a lot of damage. And the meters were being put on the individual's property, right near his property line. He thought it was on public property, but it ended up in this one instance to be on his property, just inches inside his property line, and he ended up having to pay for the damage. He's suing, by the way. He's not going to lay down and just pay the costs. But this is what will happen if you allow the meter to be put on your property. Not only will you be irradiated by yet another smart meter, but you would be responsible for any damage or for maintenance to the water meter.
Any fears that these water meters that are Wi-Fi will be fire hazards as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're wireless. And depending upon the type of meter, and Neptune has several types of wireless meters, they say that they only send signals when the person drives by and activates it. But in some communities where people have tested them with their RF meter, this isn't so. They're sending out pretty strong signals very regularly, just like a smart meter, an electric meter, is doing. Now, I haven't tested any personally. I'm taking this all from people who have told me. But this has been happening in other places. Someone in Toronto also told me that they had a water meter that was sending signals out all the time, even though it was only read once a quarter, once a month, whatever. We don't need an increase in our level of radiation. We need to be doing everything we can to reduce the level of radiation in our communities. There's no need for these meters to be wireless. They could be read manually, and the people, the homeowners could call them in. This is done in many places where analog meters are being read and called in, and perhaps the company sends someone around once a year to make sure that it's been done regularly, accurately. Also, they could ask you to send a picture in. You could take a photo and send it in to the company. There's so many things that could be done now that would eliminate the cost for the meter readers, but would also provide a safe meter for homeowners.
Sharon, you have an important meeting coming up about smart meters. Where and when?
No, the meeting, as a matter of fact, is about small cells or microcells and it's going to be held by Una McOut, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, on Salt Spring. And it's going to be held at the Hart Bradley Hall at 103 Bonnet Avenue on Thursday, March 23rd at noon. Una has taken on the lead as far as the microcells, the TELUS small cells that are being installed. And she has a wonderful document, a very complete and thorough document outlining all the dangers and the potential that this sort of new technology is going to hold for us. And she's been granted only 5 minutes to present her argument. But if anyone is in the area, I would certainly recommend you go and listen to her because she's a very, very knowledgeable and dedicated person. And if anybody wants to see her document, her report, it is going to be on our website under small cells, under the heading small cells.
Sharon, anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up the show?
No, I think we've covered just about all the major things I wanted to cover. There's always a lot going on, and if people would like to see my updates, they could take a look at my website. It's www.stopsmartmetersbc.com, and my regular updates are under the heading newsletters.
Sharon, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much, Jim. It was a pleasure.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our very popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show can be emailed to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.